I'm Rashmi Halker Singh. I'm the Deputy Editor of Headache. It's my pleasure today to be joined by Dr. Fred Cohen, who's one of the authors of a recent publication entitled When Smoke Clouds the Mind, Exploring the Headache Consequences of the 2023 Canadian Wildfires. Welcome, Dr. Cohen. This is such a timely publication. I'm so excited to talk to you about it.
Thank you for having me.
So, wildfires are top of mind at the moment, given everything that's going on. So I'm curious, what prompted you to do the study?
Sure. So this started all back in 2023. I know wildfires are a known phenomenon on the West Coast, but for us on the East Coast, it's not as common of actually, experiencing it. So in 2023, there were very large-scale wildfires in Canada, and consequently, the smoke was blown down the eastern seaboard, affecting New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey. And that was, at least in my lifetime, the first time to experience such an event like that, where it was very heavy smoke outside. It was hard to breathe the air. And during that event, it made me wonder, I wonder what effect this has on my patients. So I teamed up with colleagues at both Sinai, my institution, Montefiore, and Jefferson in Philadelphia, looking at data in their headache centers, seeing what changes would there be.
Absolutely. I remember that time. I had family in the Midwest who were impacted by this as well. So tell me about the study. What did you do and what did you find?
So we looked at both the ambulatory headache centers at Sinai and Jefferson, and in the emergency rooms at Sinai and Montefiore. We found that in the ambulatory centers there was an increase seen of calls made to the clinic, as well as in the emergency rooms at Mount Sinai in Manhattan and Montefiore in the Bronx. We then, to get the best data to actually do a statistical analysis to, we specifically focus on the data from the Montefiore Medical Center at their emergency rooms, for that had a higher level of detail that we actually were able to scrutinize.
Okay. And what did you find from all this work?
So we assessed week by week, 4 weeks, 1 week prior, which is the week of May 28th in 2023, and then every week for about a span of a month. So what we saw was the week after the wildfire events, which was around June 6th to June 8th, was when the heaviest smoke was in New York City. We saw the week after a statistically significant increase in people going to the Montefiore emergency rooms with a chief complaint of headache, and then after that, sort of coming back down. We also was able to get data from the National Weather Service, and the United States Environmental Protection Agency, where there are weather stations, all around the city. We actually were able to find weather stations in the Bronx to assess the air quality index, and specifically what's called particle matter 2.5 microns. So that, there's different stuff in the air from combustion. And one of the things we can measure is what's PM 2.5. And that's what's associated with like wildfire events. It's something that we're able to measure, and it is known to be associated with causing inflammation. So we saw a spike up to around 176 during these events, which baseline in New York City is typically around 10 to 20. So that's a very big increase, which again is the smoke we saw. And again, there was a spike during that event and then back down. Air quality index, which people probably heard of, AQI, is a thing that's commonly measured, and that went as high as around 260, which normally in New York City hovers around 50 to 80. And to give just more references, but 50 and below, that's considered like the best, like cleanest, like no effect. 50 to 100 is like, okay, it's a bit, for those who might be immunocompromised or asthma. We saw it, 250 plus. 200 and higher is considered hazardous. So that's obviously not something good to breathe in. And with these high concentrations, we did see this increase in people complaining to the emergency room with headache.
So, that's a lot of information that you were able to gather from the study. And right now, as you know, there's some significant wildfires happening on the West Coast, impacting so many people, causing a lot of devastation.
Absolutely.
So, what advice would you have based on your study for our colleagues and friends and family who live out there or anywhere in the world who live with migraine and are impacted by wildfires? Is there anything that, they can take from this?
So this is an area of interest of mine in research that I'm working with other groups looking at weather phenomenons, climate change, et cetera, how climate and and weather patterns affect migraine and other headache disorders. And there's evidence that with more and more evidence that yes, it does. So that's the question. What do we do about it? I can't control the weather. And it concerns me that as climate change progresses, that we see more severe weather phenomenon. I never experienced wildfire smoke growing up in New York City. And is this going to be something we regularly encounter? So first and foremost is, being vigilant of your headache and migraine triggers, that if you know that weather events or things like this affect you, to follow weather reports. In this scenario, if you avoiding going outside when the air quality is poor, if you have to, wearing an N95 mask or another kind of respirator if you actually have to go outside. And that with the smoke in general, not just talking about headaches, that's also other health hazards that we're still investigating. With what's going on in Los Angeles, I hope groups out there, and we'll see what projects come to see what data could be gathered to see how that impacts migraine. Again, what we gathered is sort of downstream effect from what happened in Canada. The fires weren't in New York City. Now we're talking about what's happening there and then, which is to a higher significant level of destruction and devastation. And who knows what kind of health hazards that's happening. There's a lot of data that needs to be looked at after this.
There's some excellent points. You raised some really important points and make some really great recommendations. Anything else you want to share with anyone who's watching?
When it comes to this being a headache trigger, a migraine trigger, which of course could be a very sensitive topic, I always teach my patients being prepared. Like I said, we can't control the weather, and who knows what kind of weather patterns we're going to experience as climate change progresses. But always being prepared, having your rescue migraine medication on hand, logging your headache diary, providing this information to your neurologist, your headache specialist is great information for them to help treat your migraine. And this is the kind of thing I always tell my patients, track it, keep a headache diary for this purpose because it could help develop further treatment plans.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today and for the work you're doing. It's so much appreciated.
Thank you.